and the recording. The tape will be going on. It is currently 23:18 on the 30th of the 11th. You're currently under caution. So this interview for suspected assault on a emergency worker after quitting your job. Okay, so you don't have to say anything, but it might have a defense if not mentioned when questioned, somebody later in court. And if you do say maybe given evidence, okay, I'm interviewing yourself and trying to obtain your side of events, and hopefully, obviously, prove yourself innocent or get to justice of exactly what exactly happened. Okay.
Yeah,
Not going to
hoorah.
look to try and catch you out at any time. I'm looking for simple questions that I'll be answering to get simple answers relating to the incident and getting your side of events. Okay.
Well, I'm a simple man, Mr. Robert. That worked for me. Hell yeah.
Fantastic. Cool. So we had a call come in on dispatch from Robbie Holland to say that he'd had a panic about a button and needed immediate assistance.
Yeah.
Prior to that, I did drop him off myself at the PD after you requested him back to the police station.
Yeah.
May I ask, firstly, what was the reason you requested him back to the police station?
Well, I was on the roof feeding the pigeons. I bought some bread. Down in Alabama, Mr. Roberts. I like to spend my time. We got a lot of the farm animals, right? Now I take care of the animals. I'm an animal man. I went down to the old, we call them 7-Elevens, but I don't know. You know about the strip club? I believe they call. I don't know what they call. You know what I'm talking about though, right? Like the mini stores with the food and the drinks.
7-Eleven or whatever it is, yeah.
Yeah, whatever. I don't know what the hell they call. I went down there. I bought myself some harvest, right? I like to feed the pigeons up on the roof. So I was up there. Now I had some spare bread, and I remember last time I was on shift, Mr. Holland was asking if I had any spare food because basically last time, me and my cousin Bobby, we live with our mama, right? Now mama make some mean sandwiches, peanut butter jelly, sometimes with the ham and the meat, and we just had the Thanksgiving, and we had a lot of leftover turkey in there, right? Now the last time I was on the shift, Mr. Holland said that he was a big fan of sandwiches and that he wanted to try some of Mama leftovers. So we gave him a turkey sandwich. He said, "God damn, best on fucking bitch sandwich I'd ever seen in my life." Now, Mama, she also had the harvest bread, right? Now I happen to remember when I was feeding the pigeons because one of the pigeons kind of looked like Mr. Holland. I was like, you know who would like this harvest bread? Mr. Holland. So I was like, Mr. Holland, are you available to come down to the station so I can give you some of this harvest bread? Hell yeah.
Was you with anyone at the time?
Yeah, the pigeons.
Just the pigeons. You and the pigeons, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So, panic button. Was you on scene when Robbie pulled his panic button?
So I was with the pigeons, right? So I asked him to come, and then I just said, "You let me know when you was here." And then well, I don't know what happened there. So I was on the roof. Next thing I know, a couple minutes later, I got the panic alarm up, and then I was like, "Oh my God, that Mr. Holland, he must be at the station." So I run down the stairs, and I went into the office, right? And I saw Mr. Holland curled up underneath his desk. He was all scared with the purple hair and that. And then I saw a man with a mask. He had a black mask on, black sweatshirt, and some sweatpants. And he had I couldn't tell what kind of the weapon it was. He had gloves and all that. I don't know. I didn't really take too much notice. I said, "Listen here, you better stop right there. I'm gonna beat your ass." He didn't say nothing. He darted out of the door, jumped out of the window. And then that's where, because he had the weapon in his hand, I'm going to be honest, Mr. Roberts, I got kind of a weak bladder. I was a bit scared. He had a weapon. I said I was going to beat his ass, but I was quite scared that he was going to beat my ass, so I kind of pissed myself a little bit. I'm not going to lie to you. Don't tell nobody. We keep that between us. But then that's what happened. He jumped out the window. Then Miss Piper came in, and I said, "Miss Piper," he jumped out of that window. So Miss Piper then came in, and then basically what happened is I then decided that I was going to go and chase a suspect. I was like, well, if Miss Piper here, I'm going to go apprehend that man. And that was when Mr. Bigley decided to chase me down and tackle me, and then put me in the handcuffs. And then obviously you know the rest.
Right. Okay. So when you arrived, at the door itself. Was it locked at all?
You gonna have to specify which door.
Sorry. So the office where Robbie was laying, was the door locked?
If I'm honest with you, I can't remember. I believe I just walked in.
Okay, so you just walked in,
Yeah.
and did at any point you touch the door, lock the door, or anything like that?
I mean, not to my knowledge, no.
Not to your knowledge. Okay. So the person ran out the door, and you ran into the door. Was that correct, or
No,
was the
there
person in
two
there at the
doors.
time?
I came in through one door. The guy ran out of the other door. He ran out of the same door. Officer Piper came in. But he came. You know the door by them stairs down to that reception area, right? That where the dude. He ran out of that door. I came in through the other door.
Okay. If there's any silence here, I am just taking some notes. Okay, so don't feel like I'm ignoring you or I'm not listening, etc. Just give me a couple of minutes just to write the notes down. Okay.
Oh, that's okay, Mr. Roberts. Mama ignore me all the time. She tell me I talk too much. I ever tell you about Mama?
No, you didn't.
Oh, right. Well, basically, me and Bobby live with Mama. Where we come from, the good state of Alabama. Hell yeah, God bless America. Basically, she sometimes bring home the men, and sometimes me and Bobby have to bring them drinks and stuff because they be, I don't know. She be telling me and Bobby that she do the dance parties upstairs in her bedroom, right? Because sometimes we be downstairs watching wrestling, and sometimes we hear the floorboards creaking, and then she be screaming and stuff. So I don't know. They kind of, she used to tell me that they having sometimes they'd be doing the wrestling upstairs. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes me and Bobby got to go up and take drinks up, make sure everybody refreshed at the party.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for that insightful information.
Yeah.
Now,
He's
how
got to
was
be
you
the
feeling
funniest guy, man.
when you arrived in the office and you saw what you saw?
I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. I quite like Mr. Holland. We go way back. I came on the force. I don't know if I ever told you the story about how I came onto the force with my cousin. But long story short, basically what happened is Mr. Bud, he came to Alabama one time, right? And me and Bobby was in the titty bar. Now we was having a dance with, I believe her name was Mary A. And I tell you what, Mr. Roberts, if you would have seen her in here, you'd be sweating like a motherfucker. Now we was at the titty bar, right? And I remember seeing this shiny bald head coming past. And I was like, what the hell is that? And it turns out it was Mr. Bud. Now, Mr. Bud liked to buy myself and Mr. Bobby a bunch of Bud Lights. We got to talking. We was in the, we used to be in the sheriff back in Alabama, the local sheriff department. And Mr. Bud turns out was a police officer himself. So he took a shine to us and he said, hell yeah, I got a police force down in another country. If y'all want to come down and come in. And we was like, hell yeah. And that was when I met Mr. Holland. And ever since then, I think he liked me. Sometimes he want to come a party with me and my cousin, but I'm gonna be honest with you. Sometimes he kind of smell too bad. I don't want to invite him. But what was the question?
So the question was, how was you feeling at the time when you entered the room with Robbie on the floor and seeing the intruder?
Yeah, well, it kind of reminded me of the one time that he was on the floor when he actually did come out with me and Bobby. He had too many of them Bud Lights, and Mr. Holland does not drink too much. He was kind of in that position. I like to call it the fetal position. And he said he was like, Billy, help me. And I was like, oh my God. And then I saw the man in the corner, and he had the weapon, and I was like, oh my God, I'm scared, but also I'm gonna beat your ass. And then I was kind of scared, but I also wanted to help Mr. Holland at the same time. And sometimes when I get nervous and scared and all the emotions, I piss.
Okay. So the intruder has run out, and you've then. How come you didn't run after him and offer to come in? What was the reason you didn't go? You didn't run after him?
Well, because at the time when I got to the office, I was the only person there.
Right.
Obviously my priority is going to be to see to Mr. Hall and make sure he all right.
Okay.
And then when that was when Miss Papa came in, and then when she came in, I left. I tried to then chase the man or the woman that was jumped out of the window and ran in the general direction. That's what I tried to do.
Right. Okay. So the allegations that have come alight, which is why you've been arrested, obviously, Mr. Holland claims that you assaulted him.
What?
So if that's the case, what were you feeling at the time when that come out?
When what came out, my piss.
No, the fact that you
Fuck's sake.
had officers now chasing after yourself.
How's he
But
not
obviously,
laughing?
it's
I
been
did
made
not know
aware.
what was going on. I told him. I believe Mr. Bigley would tell you. I told him that he went this way. I'm gonna go get him, and then he tackled me. But I don't know if he kind of slipped down the stairs or something. But I got back up and I tried to take run again, and then Mr. Bigley tackled me again, and then he put me in the handcuffs. And I said, "What the hell are you doing?" I thought he was trying to kidnap me, Mr. Roberts. I'm gonna be honest with you. And then there was somebody in a white Lamborghini. I thought, oh my God, he gonna put me in the white Lamborghini, and I'm gonna never see Mama again. And then obviously he brought me in here, and that's when you said I was under arrest for suspicion of assault of a police officer. No, I was like, what the hell? I am a police officer. I thought Mr. Bigley should have been arrested. He hurt me,
What?
Mr. Roberts.
Okay, so we're going to go through a couple of statements that we have
Alright.
from officers that have witnessed some events. Okay, so let's start with the first statement we have from the first officer that was on scene.
Yeah.
The first officer on scene said they responded to the panic alarm.
Wait, hold
Where-
on. I was the first officer on scene, so how you got that?
So this is why you're in an interview now, okay? So this is why we're getting your statement, and then I'm also getting the other officer that will first witness as well from yourself.
All right, so the second officer on
Because
scene. Okay.
second officer on scene, first witness to the allegations made against yourself.
Yeah.
So we've got arrived on scene with a panic button, along with the officer to my right here, Mr. Bigley. When they got to the office, the doors were locked. All the doors were locked. And Mr. Holland was on the floor. Excuse me. Let me read it so I've got it exactly as we read. Okay. So Mr. Bigley, who had responded, were unsure on Mr. Holland's exact whereabouts, so decided to split up. Mr. Bigley took the cells, and I decided to check the office after remembering Officer Billy Crawford was asking to speak to Mr. Holland in the office over radio. As I approached, saw Mr. Billy Crawford
It's fucking
stood in the
interesting,
office
innit?
and called it over radio. I unlocked the door, so the doors was locked, and obviously, according to your statement, they were unlocked as the intruder ran out of it, and you never touched the doors yourself. So she come in, unlocked the door, and walked in to find Mr. Holland laying on the floor under the desk in distress, and Mr. Billy Crawford stood over, urinating on him. So she locked the door immediately behind, and Mr. Crawford was quick to explain the ongoings of expressing his fear in the situation, explaining there was a masked man with a knife. Mr. Holland shouted, "Arrest him, Piper." This is when Bigley walks in the same door, failing to lock it behind. Mr. Crawford runs out, claiming he is going to chase the individual and responding to Bigley. And that's where she stayed behind. So obviously that statement is kind of, you running after the officer or running after the suspect. Sorry, that's what you're claiming to do. But there's a slight discrepancy in there with the fact that when she arrived, the door was locked.
Well, I couldn't tell you, Mr. Roberts. Like I said, I came in through the other door, so I don't know what you want me to say.
Okay, but the door that you claim that the suspect went out of,
Yeah.
that door was locked. So unless the suspect has
Was
some
it?
sort of keys, that door was locked at the time. But you didn't say at any point you saw him lock the door or leave the door behind, etc. And you never locked the door yourself.
No, I did not. I could not tell you the status of that door, Mr. Roberts. I came in through the other door. I done told you he ran out of that door. So if I don't know what to tell you, he ran out of that door.
So according to your statement, he ran out the door. But according to several officers, his statements claim that the door was locked at the time. Both doors,
no.
in fact, were locked.
That's not what you said. You said that the officer came in and unlocked it, and then the officer came in and he walked through it, but didn't unlock it.
So he failed to lock it behind him, but the officer that first got to there locked the door, so locked you in with Robbie and herself. That was what the statement claims. The urinating part, again, as you stated, you obviously urinated yourself because you were scared.
Yeah.
Didn't piss anymore.
Mr. Holland claiming on all three reports that it was yourself that was the attacker. Why would you think he would be saying that?
Well, I don't know. You'd have to ask Mr. Holland, but I don't know if Mr. Holland may be seeing things because he came down in the cells earlier and asking, why am I behind the bars? Why am I in a cell? He said it should have been somebody else. And I have my lawyer was present at that time, so I don't know. I don't know if you, Mr. Holland, maybe I don't know what happened to him, but maybe if he took a blow to the head, maybe he not remembering things quite as he should. Because I told you I was on the roof.
To be fair, he doesn't actually name Mr. Crawford. He just says Mr. Crawford.
So let's get back to that original thing, okay? So let's go on to the second statement that we have from the officer Bigley here. Let's hear your side of events on tape, shall we? Rather than reading it out, can you go through your side of events relating to this situation, please?
Yeah, for sure. So of course, I was driving back towards PD, and then we got the panic button call in regards to Holland has put that through. As soon as I arrived State 6, of course, Piper turned up around about the same time. We decided to split up, and I went down to check the cells because, of course, when the panic button goes off in PD, 90% of the time it is actually in the cells. So I went down there and I couldn't see anything. And then another numerous 2 or 3 pings came through. So I ran upstairs and Piper radio through to me and said, they're in the office. It's in the office. I was like, okay. So I went up there and then, of course, I see my chief on the floor. And I see Crawford here as well. And then next minute, he's running past, heading towards down to the exit. My second in command said to me, that was him, he attacked me. So I didn't, on regards, not just because it's him, but under anyone, if they've attacked someone there, they will be detained, pending investigation. So of course I chased Mr. Crawford. Yes, he did say, I'm now chasing the guy. Can't really remember a description, but from what he just said in his statement, it does sound quite similar and quite how it was. But of course, my second in command has also said that Crawford did attack him. So my main priority was detaining Crawford for further investigation, and that's when I brought him back. There was a white Lamborghini that did approach and kept asking us what I was doing. I just ignored him, didn't reply, because I knew I had a job to do. And of course, if it isn't Crawford, at the end of the day, I wouldn't want him chasing someone with a knife on his own. And due to, basically, we're trained to, if there's a panic button, health comes first. So I had to make sure that everyone was all here anyway. But yeah, that's the end of my statement.
Well, absolutely. I agree that the health comes first. That's why I was in the room at the time instead of chasing that suspect, Mr. Roberts, like I told you. My priority at that time was Mr. Holland.
No, I agree. And that's what we've trained all officers to make sure is health comes first. As I say, this interview here is one to prove what's happened. And if you're innocent, that's what we're here to try and do. I need to get all the statements through. The third statement is from Mr. Holland himself. One of the first things that I recall when I got into the situation with him is that you had quit the job. Could you talk to me about why he may say that, and if that is true, please?
I have no idea.
So you on record have not quit the police force?
No.
Okay. Looking on the records, if I just get my phone out here and get my business app open.
Sorry, Roberts. Can I just interrupt?
Yeah, go on.
So Crawford, there was a situation where I overheard you and your cousin speaking from the cell. He asked you if you had quit, and you said yes. Can you remember saying that?
Nope.
Okay, we might have to get Crawford a statement as well then.
Yeah, no problem. Have you got your body cam rolling while that was happening?
Not at this moment. Well, not at this moment in time. No.
No, was it rolling when it happened?
Yes.
It was. So you would have your body cam to prove that Mr. Crawford said what he said, so that he'd quit. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Are you sure that he didn't ask me if I was going to quit because of this situation of y'all putting me in the handcuffs and putting me behind bars like I'm some sort of criminal?
That I'll have to have a look into properly, but of course I will send that in. The issue is I am just eyes on. My mental app doesn't work on my phone at the moment, so I'll have to sort that out later on.
That's okay. Like I say, we want to get the initial statements here firstly, and then obviously any further evidence that comes to light, we'll obviously make sure we get that fully in. The statement claims from Mr. Holland himself. Mr. Crawford said over radio he needed to see me, and then when I attended the station, he was at the GC office. He then said he was leaving the police with immediate effect, so I froze his emails and door pass. So obviously, as a protocol that always happens, and I'm sure your two representatives can make you aware exactly the protocol that we put in place. Whenever someone says they are leaving the police force, our protocol is always to freeze them on their access cards so they can't access on any of the police stuff, and of course the police data as well, database. We've had officers in the past that have gone rogue, and not saying that you've gone rogue, but at this moment in time, the allegations are that you have gone rogue and ended up hitting the officer for assault suspiciously. So that is the main reason why the protocol happens, and that's why obviously your access that he was saying that it's been frozen.
Well,
He then said,
can I
go on.
just stop you
Yeah,
just
I'll
for a
stop
second?
that. Absolutely, no problem.
That doesn't make any sense, because how would he have done that? Yet I could still open the front door with my fingerprint. If he's saying that he done that, but I can still open the doors, that don't make no sense, Mr. Robert.
Exactly what I'm saying in terms of I'm looking at his statement, reading it back to you, and trying to
I'm
pick
just letting
out.
you know that don't make no sense, because like I said, there would have been how would I have been able to give chase if I could not get through any of the doors with my fingerprint?
I agree. If you haven't been taken off the roster, but he said you have, then maybe it's either he's failed to do it, or the access request was denied, or it was a blip in the system that was unable to do it. There's lots of there's lots of things here, but ultimately, as I say, I'm reading out the statements, trying to gain your side of events on why they may be saying this to enable us to obviously come to get to the factual part. So
Mr. Roberts,
yes.
may I speak in as a second there? Sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, so would you mind just speaking up slightly? I couldn't hear you right there. What did you say? Sorry.
I was going to ask if you could speak up a bit, because I'm.
Oh,
struggling to hear
sorry.
you.
Yeah. Is this any better?
Yeah, please, thank you.
Fantastic. Cool. Which bit would you unsure that I said, just so I can repeat myself if required?
I think I got up to most of there.
Okay, cool. So as I was just explaining to Mr. Crawford, the reports are coming from the statement of Mr. Holland that he had frozen the access doors and also the database from Mr. Crawford. Mr. Crawford is saying that he still had his access card available to him to be able to use. So it's either not gone through the database correctly, or he's failed to do it, or as his report is currently going, maybe as he was trying to do it, the assault come in. That's his allegation. So that's why we're trying to put the statements across to find out why this would be happening and from Mr. Crawford's side of events.
Well, I mean, you got access to the roster, right, Mr. Roberts? Could you not just check if I'm still there or not?
Yeah, absolutely. I was just doing that, and then I'd obviously gone back to the statement. So just bear with me a second. Mr. Billy Crawford is currently still within our employment system through my business phone, and I'm pretty sure this is up to date with the one upstairs. So at this moment in time, as you say, you've still got access. By the look of this, you do still have access as well.
Now, can I
Yeah,
just
man.
add on to that?
How's
Because
it going?
Mr. Holland said, and Mr. Bud, you might be able to confirm this.
I'm always streaming,
Mr.
bro.
Holland was down in the
Always.
cell earlier, and he said, why Mr. Crawford behind the cells? What about the other one? That's what he said, Mr. Bud, right? Am I wrong?
Cheers for the follow, bro. How are you?
I do remember also hearing that, and then
No.
obviously when we asserted him that it was yourself rather than is it your cousin? Did you say? Sorry.
Yeah, he my
Your-
cousin. Well,
your
is my
brother.
cousin still
Oh,
on
nice.
the roster or not?
Top man, thank
He
you.
is still on the roster. Yes.
Oh,
I'm loving it.
Don't
I'm
make
with,
no
I'm with Deggy, so I love it.
and then obviously when we made him aware that it was yourself, he then went,
good
"Yeah,
recognition,
that's
innit?
the right one." So again, like you say, a little bit of conflict there, whether he's still got a bit dazed from the attack or what. But exactly why we're going for a full interview here to make sure we get your side of events and all the
I
evidence down.
understand.
Okay.
I understand.
So he then said in his statement that
Oh yeah, you definitely
reportedly you then
Oh, yeah, hold on,
shouted Alabama when you went to leave the door.
I'm trying to like do it every time
Sorry,
it is.
let me try and get this, make sense of this. He then said in Alabama when the leave the do it differently and then hit me with his baton and put me to the floor and then started to urinate on me. He at this
Oh.
point was locked in the room as I'd frozen
Yeah,
his
I'll give you
card
that. I'll give you
access
that.
until Piper turned up, opened the door, and he ran out.
I mean, that just kind of sounds like he trying to. I mean, what the hell does me being from Alabama got to do with anything?
As I'm stating, that's the words that are within the statement that was being used.
All right.
Why do you think he may have been saying that? Is there a reason? Have you got any? I mean, obviously you called him back to give him some food, so it's a
Yeah.
bit strange that, as you say, you've got a really
Yeah,
good
I know, it's
relationship.
mad,
Then all of a
innit?
sudden, he's now trying to throw you under the
That is
bus
definitely
and
going on TikTok.
claim that you are
Well-
the attacker. What's gone on in this scenario? Why would that happen?
I could not tell you, Mr. Roberts. I believe that going to be a question for Mr. Holland. I like I said, I had good relationship with Mr. Holland. I gave him some of Mama leftovers from the Thanksgiving. I could not tell you why all of a sudden he trying to make sure this was me again. Maybe he
did
took
ya?
a blow to the head, and when he came round, I was the first person he saw. So I don't know if he think maybe
I'm trying
I
to go
did it,
live
but
on
I was
TikTok,
the
but I
first,
just can't get the
was the
followers,
first
bro.
officer there. So
Get a link to your
I mean that
Discord.
kind of makes sense.
What do you mean?
But I could not tell you in regards to the relationship. I like Mr. Holland.
Okay.
Mr. Roberts,
Yes.
a wee quick question. All these witness statements that you've presented, were these all taken individually and not gathered collectively as a group?
That is correct. Yes, each individual officer was put to a side, and they put their statements across. Everyone, including
yeah.
well, I can let you speak for yourself here, Mr. Bigley. But
Yeah.
if you want to say how you put your statement across,
Yeah, I mean, I done my statement right near the little food machines in the cells. I didn't know where Piper was, to be honest with you. But yeah,
so. So essentially, what happened? Obviously, we treat this very seriously. My officers were upstairs in the room. We managed to ascertain exactly what had happened. Each officer then was told that was involved directly was told to make their statement. I believe Eliza put it. She did it upstairs, virtually where it happened. At the time while we were doing that, Mr. Bigley was taking Mr. Crawford down to the cells, so no conflict of interest there either. And of course, Mr.
cheers,
Holland
bro.
was
Thank you.
en route to the hospital.
Yeah,
So
on TikTok.
all three statements that were
Message me on
taken
Discord.
were not
Let me get my Discord
able
link. One
to
sec.
get their side of events across to each other prior to making their statement. We tried to do it as professionally as possible to prevent any cross wires or stuff like that.
Do you have the NHS reports that Mr.
Yeah,
Holland
that's my
sustained
Discord.
injuries?
The NHS report is yet to have come into myself. Hopefully, that won't be too much longer for that to happen. But again, something that I can make sure we chase up once this interview has been concluded.
Do you trust your officers?
I trust all my officers until the trust is broken. I think that's the fair way to say it. I wouldn't want to start off a relationship with my officers and get them to. Of course, people earn their trust, but ultimately they have a job to do. They swear by oath, and they abide by the standards. And if they ever fail to
Don't you
abide by the
think?
standards, then of course
I don't think there
it's
is.
dealt with. But
I think he's going to get
there
away
would
with
be no
it.
reason for me not to trust them until such a time that is broken.
Do you know if Mr. Holland trusts his officers?
Again, that is something I can't answer because I'm not Mr. Roberts. Sorry, I am Mr. Roberts. I'm not Mr. Holland.
Hell yeah.
I don't
The
know.
only reason I ask is because it seems strange to me that if you trust your officers, you are, like you said, sworn constables. If our client here was locked in the office,
Mhm.
why would you lock the doors behind you, taking them in?
My only gathering from the three statements taken is the fact that if this gentleman in front of me, Mr. Crawford, has assaulted, then they would obviously want to contain the
I don't want to speak
incident
too much. I
and
want to
the
interact with you guys,
potential
but
suspect
I want you to hear
from
this.
escaping. And if Mr. Holland at the time says that he had frozen his access card, he would know by locking the door would prevent him from being able to leave the room. So he's containing it within the environment. But that again, as I say, you've all listened to the statements taken,
Yep.
and that's where my gathering or evidence would come from.
That's understandable. But I find that strange because you've just confirmed to us that on your phone, Mr. Crawford is still employed, therefore his key card isn't frozen.
I 100% agree, and I've just said that obviously on the tape that is correct. However, at the time, it's as I said a minute ago, if Mr. Holland went in the system and he has believed that he's frozen the access card,
isn't it?
then obviously he would take it from there. If it's
my
not
concern
gone
is-
through, or at the time, he's failed to put it through quick enough or process it, and he was attacked by either this gentleman in front of me or this masked person that Mr. Crawford said, then it may not have, clicked the confirm button, so to speak.
The bit that concerns me is the only person that's actually named Billy Crawford is Piper. What she said was that he was in the office, which he hasn't actually denied. He said, yes, I was in the office. Mr. Holland has referred to Mr. Crawford. Mr. Holland then subsequently, in front of yourself, as you've already said this isn't the right one. Mr. Bigley here has also written Crawford. So could be Billy, could be Bobby, could be any other Crawford in the city. Not entirely sure. We've got a pure identity case here going on.
Can I just ask a few questions, if you don't mind?
Yeah.
So, Mr. Crawford, what is the reason to why you're leaving the force? If you don't mind me asking.
Who said I was leaving?
Well, if you've handed your resignation in or you left, and we're talking about the conversation about you having access to unlock the doors and stuff when you believe you shouldn't have, then shouldn't you have left, right? Or are you planning on
I did
it?
not say that. No, negative, Mr. Bigley. I
Yeah,
believe you
that-
are getting confused. I did not say that. Mr. Harlan said that he had froze my access cards, and my argument was, well, how does that work when I can still unlock the doors? Like I said, I believe you are getting confused. I have
Okay.
not once said that I was going to leave.
All right. Yeah, correct. Yeah, I'm corrected. My apologies.
Just my own understanding, Mr. Roberts. Was Mr. Holland's statement taken during the hospital transit or after?
No, Mr.
I swear
Holland was
it was like a big
statement
thing about
about
the
a minute or
logs.
two before, after he'd seen you in the cells. So once he'd been cleared, released from
I want
hospital,
to find a loophole.
and had a clear mindset,
There's got to be one, isn't
was
there?
fit to fit to resume his duties, he was then asked to give a statement.
Do you know what injuries Mr. Holland sustained?
Again, we're currently just waiting on the NHS report. And as I say, I was hoping to get that before we started the interview, but that hasn't come in. So we would obviously look to gain that once the interview has concluded.
I'm understanding it was a tragic event that happened to Mr. Holland.
Absolutely, any officer that's been attacked, regardless of who it is obviously a tragic incident that hopefully we never wake up and dream of happening.
Was
I'm
Mr.
just glad
Holland
he's okay.
was Mr. Holland conscious or unconscious?
Mr. Holland was conscious throughout the whole time. When we arrived on scene, he was talking and was in a lot of pain, describing exactly what happened at the time.
You have to bear with me. I've got a cold as
and
well. You can probably hear
pretty
me.
much similar to what his statement claims, that when I arrived, he was on the floor. He was being seen to by by Piper. When I got into the room, I said, "Right, what's happened?" And he said, "It's it's Crawford. He has attacked me. He left the job. I then took him off the system, and he's attacked me,
Mhm.
and he's gone. Go catch him." That was his exact words that I have on my body cam for it. And again, like I say, just like yourself, and I said it in the cells as well to both Crawfords, that my initial thoughts was, oh my God, he's out there in the force. I've literally just seen him, spoken to him, and he's gone and done this. But then obviously the flashback remember that obviously Mr. Billy Crawford asked him to go back to the station. And the thing that kicking in the head is the fact that I dropped him off at the station and allowed him to do it. or allowed him to go in by himself,
we.
and then I've obviously gone and responded to another call,
Mm.
and that's where the panic button has come in, and I've returned.
Do you know why Mr. Holland hasn't mentioned the fact that he spoke to Piper and said, "Arrest him, Piper"? Now, "arrest him, Piper" is very nondescript.
Can you he said that to me as I entered the
Oh
room.
shit!
I'm just going through the statements. Mr. Holland shouted, "Arrest him, Piper."
5-0.
Oh, sorry, you're reading going through the
Well, cheers
statement.
for the
Sorry,
raid,
yes.
bro.
Yeah.
And you're reading
How's your
Piper's
stream?
statement. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So obviously Piper's the one that got into the room originally, wasn't it? She
Yep.
unlocked the door, got
Thank
into
you
the
for the
room where
follow, Nathan.
Mr. Crawford and obviously Robbie were at the time. And
Yep.
he's obviously shouted, "Arrest him, Piper."
Well, I don't know.
Yeah, but he doesn't mention
Bobby.
doing that in his statement. If one of them says that Bigley turned up, failed to lock the door behind him, and Billy Crawford runs out.
Yep.
If you look at Robbie's statement,
Bigley.
it says Piper turned up, opened the door,
Bigley
and he
will
ran out.
break your jaw, mate. No, I'm joking.
Not entirely sure.
How are we all?
A, it was the right Crawford in the room at the time. Who opened the door? How he ran out? Why he would have been locked in the office in the first place? It's a bit all over the place.
I totally agree with you. And as I stated when I first opened up this interview,
So
the fact
an
that
officer hit another
Mr.
officer.
Crawford here is currently an officer of mine,
So-
and there's a serious allegation that's gone on. So we're wanting to make sure
How's it being,
that
armed response?
his statement has
Well done
come
again there,
across,
bro.
and I'm getting all the
Love that,
evidence
man.
from it. And of course, we've got Mr. Bigley's statement, who's sitting here next to me as one of the first arresting officers on scene, and the one that obviously tackled him, put him in cuffs. We've got Mrs. Piper's extensive statement
I'm
as
hoping
well,
so, mate,
and of
'cause-
course, Mr. Holland after he's been released.
I feel like
There
I've
is
been doing
more
the same job role
aspects,
for
as I
like
said. We've got to get the
ages.
NHS statement, but we're looking
of
at
course
an
I was
initial statement
responsing,
here, and obviously the allegations that have come through
burp. No
is
response
enough
through
for us
here.
right now to obviously
And I've been
interview
obviously
under
responsing
caution
this city for now
to
like
Mr.
2.5 months, 3 months.
as well as obviously at the time
trying,
due
bro.
to the statements due to the allegations that have been made by a rather senior officer against obviously himself. We need to suspend and to further investigate in order to get the right outcome. And obviously,
I'd agree. This is definitely more of a professional standards issue. At the moment, I think.
100%. Obviously, they're not in at the moment, but this is why I'm getting all the statements so I can then pass over to them and they can investigate and deal with it. But as I say, because an allegation has come in, Mr. Crawford is currently under caution and is being
Well, which one? This
treated
one?
under
Or that
suspicion
one?
of the crime that he's committed.
Which one?
However, that's why he's
As you
been
can tell,
given
I'm full
a
of cold
rather
as well.
extensive
I
time
wasn't even
to
going to stream
explain
tonight, but I'm
himself
so glad I did.
and obviously
Oh.
listen to the statements and the reasons behind
Yeah, it
why
gets
they've
really
said it,
thick.
and his opportunity to try and defend against the statements that have been made.
Really big eyebrows as
I
well.
understand and I
have to
agree
shave that
that the
bit, it's funny.
statements given, there are some discrepancies within, i.e. one around the officer himself, as well as obviously who entered the room at what time, etc. So this is why there's further evidence that we want to try and collect to prove innocence or prove guilt from that.
Oh my god.
But it's good that obviously we've been able to allow Mr. Crawford to express his side of events.
I ain't got a drink.
so
I've
we
been
can
able to
then
get one
continue
for the
to
last bloody
investigate
hour.
further and do it properly.
I need a wee. I need a drink. I need a cigarette.
Roll Tide.
I literally can't help you with that
Is there
one. Sorry,
anything
key
else
stuff. My
before we
apologies.
conclude the interview, Mr. Crawford, that
Yes, Robert.
you would like to add that we may have missed in any way?
Well, I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I don't think a lot has been missed. I think a lot has been. I mean, I'm just wondering how a lot of this stuff has been brought
Sorry
to
about
me.
that.
I'm
I'm going to get a
his
drink
right
now,
was to protect
and I'll do like
himself,
I'll
and
do
that's what I
5
was trying
sips.
to do, and that has ended
I was
me in
gonna
this
wait
room
till
here.
this is done.
I'm usually sitting where you sitting, and now I'm sitting where I'm sitting.
I understand that,
You
sir.
know?
I understand that, sir. And as you know full well that if there's allegations that have come in or complaints, etc., and certainly from high officers that are in credible positions, they have to be taken seriously. And it's not just the case of, oh, no, don't worry, my officers are okay. No matter who you are, if you've been allegations against you, we always make sure that we try to give a fair account for this. And as you say, you currently have an allegation against you, so we need to do further investigation. So what will need to happen now is we will need to suspend yourself until the investigation has been completed by professional standards. They will then conduct everything, all the extra statements. They may take further evidence, and they may even want to speak to you again. However, while you are suspended, we will obviously need to make sure that your access cards and your database is frozen for the time being because you're currently under investigation. However, if it comes to light, there's no evidence to it, you'll be fully reinstated. There'll be nothing on your system to claim it, and we'll look to try and pay a little bit of compensation for any mortgage that you may have lost.
I understand that, Mr. Roberts, but I'm gonna be honest with you, Mr. Roberts. I'm gonna have to contemplate if I want to come back. I'm quite upset that y'all would treat me this way.
It's okay. Would you like any
Yeah.
food or water?
Mr.
In
Roberts,
this
Basically,
situation?
that officer sitting down attacked
No
the
problem.
chief, and,
Mr. Budd.
one of the chiefs.
am I sure that my Mr. Crawford here is entitled? Is his suspension without pay or with pay?
With the way that it's that obviously our database works, he believed that his system will be frozen. However, it will be suspension with pay, but because of the database, when we freeze the system, he's obviously going to be unable to collect his paychecks at the time. But any paychecks that he misses out on, we'll look to try and compensate.
Always perfect.
I'm not gonna be able to pay Mama.
You'll be all right. You're still going to get paid, Miss Crawford.
You will still be paid, but obviously, if the investigations does come true and the evidence does come alight, then unfortunately, obviously, you will lose any entitlement to that salary because you're on suspension.
I understand.
Okay, fantastic. Let me just get this sorted, but before I do, I think it would be best if we look to get you into the locker room to remove your clothing and get you in something comfortable to obviously so you go home in, because obviously when we do withdraw your access to the card, you won't be able to access your clothes that you may have put on before you started your shift.
I don't even know if I got spare clothes, Mr. Roberts.
I'm sure I can find you some. I'm sure I can find you some.
He
if
can borrow
needed.
mine. It's not an issue.
No, I need men's clothes.
We're trying to say.
You do
Gentlemen
like Shrek.
that is currently representing Mr. Budd and Mr. Jacobson, is there any further that you would like to
Dickhead.
add before we conclude this interview?
Not on tape.
No.
Fantastic. Okay, so that is the conclusion of this